As I mentioned in my intro, right, I work in the retail organization, and so I have lots of conversations with the variety of different organizations and some of the challenges that their frontline workers are facing across the board, right? Frontline workers, haven't really had a chance to take a break, really, as it relates to the pandemic. So really thinking about and being mindful of what are some of the things that we can do to help continue forward their success in terms of supporting customers, right? They're the backbone of organizations, businesses in many instances when you have them. They're the face of the business. And so we want to make sure that they are engaged in what's top of mind for the organization, that they have access to the right sets of tools and capabilities to be able to quickly answer questions, solve problems, do tasking, et cetera, and to make that available right in the flow of where they're working. So super important that we think about the lens. When we think about the frontline workers, and again, the feedback that we hear, we do a lot of surveys and investigating and reporting and talking to customers and in the industry, et cetera. And there's a lot of things that we've uncovered, again, in having those conversations, right? Frontline managers, will talk about how they're not effectively able to get the message down to their employees. Oftentimes, a message may come down to a plant manager, a restaurant manager, a store manager, a branch manager, and the communication typically stops there because frontline employees don't necessarily have access to the right sets of tools for them to be well communicated with. Most 51%, nearly a little over half of frontline employees, they don't feel valued, right? And if you think about what that translates to, that's a need that everyone has, not just a frontline worker. Everyone wants to feel like they're being recognized, that they're being seen, that they're being heard, and that they have a voice, right? And so that ultimately, those mechanisms are what can help provide better overall engagement, better results in terms of customer engagement, and the things that you would do to support your overall working environment. Again, frontline worker, the breadth of what that is or could be in healthcare, financial services, manufacturing, retail, et cetera. Then there's a huge challenge around getting the right technology into the hands of frontline employees, right? They don't have the right sets of tech, lots of analog processes, lots of paper, lots of things that are unstructured. There's lack of consistency. They just don't have the right sets of tools to be able to do the day-to-day things, to be able to communicate, et cetera. And what that leads to on the right here is that frontline workers need to get their job done. And so what they end up having to resort to is leveraging unsanctioned tools, right? They're going to go out and grab consumer-facing technology to be able to communicate, to help solve problems. They have a need, and the access to consumer-level technology is very pervasive. And so, they install a thing, they tell a friend, et cetera, and more people are starting to use technology that is outside of your compliance boundary, outside of the channels that you would be able to reach them in. And so it creates a lot of challenges and kind of really perpetuates these problems of being able to provide that right level of connectivity and right level of connection. Now, for all employees, we see at the core, Microsoft Teams is that single pane of glass that provides all of the things that you need to do for your particular role. The majority of us are serving likely in an information worker capacity where my access to Teams is on a device like I have in front of me, a laptop with maybe multiple screens like I have in front of me. And that Teams interface gives me all of the things and the right sets of things potentially that I need to be able to go through my day, right? I can have chat, conversations. Even if I think about this particular event, Teams was the place where Donnell, Michael, and I came together to help organize and coordinate this event. We had chat, we had meetings to make sure that we had all the content well fleshed out. We were able to collaborate on those files and share them in that same place. I was able to quickly reach out to Michael and ask a question via a call. And then we were able to augment that collaboration experience with some other apps and services, some Microsoft first party, some not, to really round out our ability to be able to build and deliver this session, right? It's that single place that we need to go to do these things. So there's so many, we're at numbers now, we're seeing over 300 million people are using Teams every single day, right? It is that singular ubiquitous place to be able to get to things. And again, when we think about that desktop experience, that could very well be the experience that is where your frontline employees might engage in teams, right? So if there's in scenarios where, say, in a plant, for example, you have kiosks, or in retail store locations, some customers, the number of customers that I have retail store locations with kiosks that they walk up to and they sign in, and they can access that experience there. But for a lot of frontline workers, accessing these collaboration experiences typically means some kind of a mobile device, whether that is an organization that supports BYO, whether it is a corporate provided device, whether it's a corporate shared device. And to kind of advertise a little bit, the session next week will be also all about that shared device mode and how to set that up and enable that for your frontline workers, where you have shared device experiences in your organization. And so the frontline worker experience on mobile, because it's in their hand and out around where their customers are, we really want to make sure that we're being thoughtful about what that experience could and should look like, right? So that I'm focusing on the high value things that I need to be able to connect in terms of communication, information, news, etc. But then I can quickly get back to doing some of the other things that I need to do. So this tailored experience can be customized per organization. And this is where I'm going to start out and spend the lion's share of our conversation around these frontline worker capabilities, but happy to be able to move into a desktop experience as needed as well. So I've been talking for quite a while, and I'd love to know just in the chat, if you do have questions of the things that I've talked about so far, let me know what you'd like me to lean into a little bit more. Right? We've got a really small, intimate group here, and this is live and all that comes with that. So I really would like to make sure that we're landing this experience and making it super relevant for you, for the questions that you have, the things that are top of mind for you, et cetera. So again, appreciate you letting me know in the chat, what questions you have, or what topics or topic areas that you want me to drill into a little bit more as we go through this experience. So I'm going to go ahead and tee up getting the first of my devices in line here. And I'm going to go ahead and share out not my screen, but my desktop over here so we can see the experience. And for now, you know what, I guess I'll just leave the camera on. It's fine. Donnell, am I good on content as well as camera? Does that make like we're looking good here?
We are looking great.
Perfect. 5x5. Awesome. Okay, so what you're seeing on the screen right now is the screen of the device that I'm holding in my hand, right? This just happens to be Android, common device and operating system for a lot of the customers that I talk to. Those Android devices could be stock Android devices. They could be Android devices like I'll bring up in a little bit, something like a Zebra device or a Samsung or Honeywell, where we've got some more deep integrations into the team stack, and I'll showcase what those look like. But these devices could be iOS as well too, right? Because at the end of the day, whether we're talking about Android or iOS, what we're wanting to lean into as that entry point is the Teams application. Now, when I think about when you were to open up the Teams application on your mobile device tied to your particular environment, you might not start here in this experience. This is Viva Connections. Viva Connections is one of the pillars of Microsoft Viva, our employee experience platform, that is designed to help connect all employees with relevant news and communications, whether those are from corporate communications, whether they're communications in the communities that I'm a member of, or relevant apps and services that I might need to be able to do my job. And so this dashboard provides a great, really easily customizable and focused area for my employees, and in particular, my frontline employees, to be able to connect with the things that they need and that they care about during the day. Now, I want to pause here for a second and call out the fact that what I'm wanting to do right now is to show more of art of the possible, right? Here are a number of things that you could choose to do. And so as we scroll down through the dashboard, then I'm going to talk about a number of different capabilities here. Just know that I'm kind of trying to walk a balancing act between showing you what you could do, but also making sure that you know that you can be very intentional and prescriptive in your organization for the kinds of things that you want to do. So most organizations, when they get started in this experience, they don't have a dashboard with 15, 20 cards on it, right? And we'll get into what these are in a little bit. You're going to be intentional. You're going to start with a couple of high value activities, things that are super important for your particular role or organization, and start there, and then grow and develop the experience out based on your business needs, et cetera. This dashboard can be targeted to my role, to my function, to my geography, to my location, store, whatever, so that this experience can be very much relevant for me. And in fact, you can see if I look through some of these different experiences, the Shifts app, which we're going to drill into in a second, actually services my current shift information. So it's personal to me. Same thing with assigned tasks. Those are things that are specific and unique to me. When we get into learning, I get into my learning experience. So this isn't just some generic sea of links. I get relevant information, and even when opening the dashboard, I see things that are in information at a glance that's very important to me. Maybe I have a newly assigned task, like this urgent task here to update the summer sales displays. So it really being able to lean into a very personalized experience is fantastic. Even the news that we'll talk about can be audience targeted, so that specific news that might apply to specific roles within the organization will land there as well too. So just know that these can be configured to be very relevant. So let's drill into some of the capabilities here and talk through some of the experiences. As a frontline worker, time and attendance, right, is typically very important. And I can see that I have this Shifts app that's available to me that empowers me to be able to manage my schedule, to be able to see when my shift is, and even to be able to clock in and start my shift, all from this mobile device. So I could walk into the store, pick up the device if it's a shared device, quickly sign in, and have access to my personalized dashboard where I can manage my experience. If I go in and look at my shifts, you'll see the Shifts experience can be standalone as a time and attendance platform for organizations. Or if your organization is very complex and you already have a time and attendance system, something like Kronos or Blue Yonder or others, you can integrate the Teams and Shifts app experience with that back-end workforce management platform. So this just becomes that easy-to-use experience that's integrated into Teams and in the flow of what I'm doing, where the housekeeping and all of the scheduling and whatever and the reporting happens in the existing workforce management system. And it speaks to the nature of Teams as a platform that is meant to be built on and integrated and scalable, et cetera. So when I look at my morning shift, and I'm quite a few hours overdue for clocking in, but that's fine. I can see a couple of different things. First of all, I see some notes that have been given to me where I need to focus on setting up progress displays. And then I'm actually an assistant manager, right? So I wear a couple of different hats. I'm a frontline worker, but I'm also a manager. And I've been told that, hey, I want to focus on employee coaching and development, right? So a big thing that nearly every customer that I talk to, their frontline conversation typically quickly gets to that the store manager, the plant manager, the branch manager, the restaurant manager, what they want them to be doing is focusing on getting out in front of the employees, helping coach them, develop them, invest in them, et cetera. And so I can pull that forward into that experience. I can also see the types of activities that I need to do throughout my day. I can also see the other folks that are going to be working with me on my particular shift. And if I wanted to, say, for a particular shift later on, if I wanted to swap this shift with someone else, I could pick a different team member and offer up my shift to someone else. Or if I wanted to, I could just offer the shift outright, meaning I don't want to change out with someone. The key here is that I'm empowered in this experience to be able to manage my time and attendance. And it's here, again, right in the flow of where I'm already working, right here on this dashboard in Teams. I could always also drill into the full shifts application to clock in and start my shift and do all of those kinds of things and make sure that I have a great experience here. But the way for me to be able to easily, quickly jump into these experiences and have them be targeted are really fantastic. Now, if we contrast that with what we do at Microsoft, we have this experience as well, too. We drink our own champagne. But instead of seeing a shifts experience, we actually have an integration with our time and attendance system that allows me to submit for sick time or to be able to put in jury duty or when we were tracking vacation, taking that back to being able to put in and submit from vacation. So you can provide the right level of integration and surface up the capability depending on the type of worker. So just know that we're being thoughtful about that as well too. Now, if I move on from shifts and I move back to the top of the dashboard here, I'm already clocked in, I'm doing my thing, if you will. Frontline workers, again, feel like they're not necessarily always getting the right news and information. It's really important to be able to make sure that people are being communicated with, that they know what's top of mind across the organization. And so this top news card allows the communicators that are working in Viva Connections to be able to take that news that is really top of mind for the organization and boost that out to drive and raise awareness. And so you can see a number of different articles here that talk about the different kinds of experiences that we can bring forward. And those news articles can be articles that are authored right within the Viva Connections experience in that portal, that intranet that's powered by SharePoint. Or they could link you out to other news articles like this top one is, where I can actually go out to an external resource, say, for example, this article on Microsoft's site, where we could see, hey, there's some updated information, and I could see and consume the things that are top of mind, right? Whatever those news and articles information are. A lot of customers that I work with, they're publishing and leveraging articles that are maybe industry specific, that they've already published externally, and they want to make sure their employees, and especially their frontline employees, see what's available to them. This top news element is super powerful at, again, making sure that your frontline workers get all of the information. Again, in talking with a lot of the customers that I engage with, we see a lot of challenges where the communication typically goes out to the store manager, and then it's incumbent upon them to be able to have a daily stand-up briefing, which is potentially important. Or I know a lot of organizations that print something out and hang it up in a break room and hope that somebody walks by. Here, I can, again, make sure that that information is getting out and putting it there at front and center of everyone. Super important and fantastic to be able to see that. I'm also seeing here in the chat, Brianna, thank you for commenting on that. You were talking about some shifts for your clinicians, so I'm assuming you're working in healthcare. So thanks for commenting on that. Yeah, lots of capabilities, and we're continuing to evolve in that space. So again, thinking about the kinds of things that are important for nearly every frontline worker: time and attendance, shifts, check, we've got you covered there. News and communications, and with that, we think about formal news from corporate communicators. That's a thing that lands in here as well. For a lot of frontline employees, understanding what are those top value activities, those things that they should really be working on, is super important. And this is where being able to surface up tasks and task information is really important. So again, not necessarily seeing a sea of things that needs to be managed by my particular location, right? My hospital, my clinic, my store, and that's what I'm kind of focusing on here. I can see tasks that are important to me. And when I click on this, I see all of those tasks that are assigned to me. And in fact, I see that the top one here, based on the little bell, is a critical task. And not only that, I can drill into this and see, what is top of mind here. I see that it's past due. It should have been due on the 12th. Maybe I want to update that and let everybody know that, I am going to get this done by tomorrow, that I will get that done. I'll let people know that it's in progress. If there weren't any notes associated with it, there's a sub checklist of things that I need to work on. They've also gone through and included a planogram that I can click on to open up to let me know, hey, here's what I need to do for this task. In this case, it's a planogram that shows me for my store location how I need to arrange and lay out product in the store, right? So I can go ahead and capture all this information and see what the reference is. I can go ahead and manage all these experiences. If I wanted to comment on this and let people know that, hey, things are looking good, or I run into an issue, I can capture that as well too. I can also add other attachments to this. So maybe as I've gone through and stocked the overall motion, what I want to do is leverage my mobile device to take a picture of the display that was set up. And I can go ahead and attach that to the task so that when the task is marked as completed, maybe I have a notification that lets the store managers know that, hey, this particular task is done. They can go in and ensure that the shelving was set up and populated per the planogram instructions, right? And I can see that that's happening there. So again, just fully taking advantage of the device and the kinds of things that you can do from this experience. And again, I can manage the tasks that have been assigned to me, or I can use this as a space to be able to manage my tasks. Having that front and center, really, really powerful, right? It helps me, again, stay focused on the things that I need to do. As someone who works in a store, right, my primary focus needs to be helping the customer. And so quickly getting to those high value activities, those things are important, makes me really effective. Now, if I think about moving down the overall experience here for frontline workers, and especially in retail, one of the biggest challenges that they have is around turnover, right? We have a lot of instances where if you think about the places that you frequent as a customer, right? You're thinking your coffee shops, your restaurants, those that maybe have drive-through staff, et cetera, even your local retail store locations. Turnover is a very prevalent thing. And so one of the pain points that a lot of organizations have for frontline workers is how do we get them up to speed as quickly as possible? And being able to surface onboarding resources, again, into the flow of what they're already doing is super important. And I could maybe say, hey, while an employee is a new hire in the organization, I'm going to create a group that says, you're going to go and you're going to be in this group if you have been at the organization 90 days or less, because I want it so that you have a very easy way to be able to get access to a set of onboarding resources. And it could be kind of whatever you want. These cards can be configured in such a way to, connect people to the right sets of resources, right? In this case, a nice little welcome message that could be personalized if you want. And then here's some things that you might want to do. Join communities, update your profile so that people that you work with know more about you. Select benefits or other recent or useful links that are specific to onboarding. Help them walk through that checklist of things that they need to do to be super effective at getting up to speed within the organization, taking training, meeting colleagues, et cetera, connecting with experts, lots of things that you can do. And being able to connect them into an onboarding experience is really, really powerful. I'm going to pause for a sip of water and to see if there's anything else in the chat that's come through. Okay. Moving on. Again, I talked about onboarding. Super important that we think about getting people up to speed in the organization. And one of the biggest parts of that is being able to get access to training and onboarding resources. And so another one of the pillars of Microsoft Viva is something called Viva Learning, which is a way to provide a singular place to be able to connect to Microsoft first-party training resources. So think Microsoft Learn, Office 365 training, LinkedIn Learning, whether or not you have the subscription, depends on how much of that you see. Every organization that I work with has their own training resources that they can publish and make available out on a SharePoint site for people to be able to see and access and consume. And then Viva Learning can also serve as an integration point and connect to other learning management systems, learning experience platforms, or learning content platforms. So names that you might be familiar with are things like SuccessFactors, Cornerstone, Saba, et cetera. I can take and make Viva Learning that singular place where I can access all of those learning resources. And again, I get an experience that for me is very tailored to my organization and personalized to me in a number of ways. You can see the learning folks have created a set of featured learning experiences for my organization, specific to the place that I work with, the vertical that I work in retail, right? So here's courses on retail sales foundations and others. Again, raising awareness and helping me discover learning that might be interesting to me or useful to me, regardless of my role within the organization. If I have content that's assigned to me through a connected learning management system, like we have at Microsoft, I would see that there. Or courses that I've recently viewed, or courses that I've bookmarked, or courses that are recommended to me, et cetera. I can see all of this in this nice personalized view. I can also establish a number of different interests. So again, I can see the kinds of things that are training related that could be useful to me or interesting to me, right? Like around accessibility, collaboration, data privacy, leadership, et cetera, helping to better train up my employees, that kind of a thing. I can also see and search for courses by providers. So here you can see in Contoso here, we've got connections into Saba and Go1 and Coursera and edX. in InfoSec, Josh Burson, et cetera. Even some of our own learning courses and learning resources that we'll drill into a little bit more when we pivot to the desktop view. Really amazing for me to be able to see this. And as the learner, right, I really don't care, right? I just want to be able to take and find a class. And so super easy for me to be able to come in, and if I wanted to do a search for something like Teams, let's say, I can go through, search through the list of providers, and if I wanted to get a quick little primer on getting to use Microsoft Teams, I can see that this top course is right here, and if I wanted to go ahead and take this, I can click on it right from here. Or if I want to take this a little bit later, maybe when I'm on a break, I can go ahead and bookmark it and find it back in that list of courses that I bookmarked. I don't care where the course comes from. That's not important to me. What's important is that I have access to learning. And again, when we think about employees feeling like they're invested in, right? Having ready access to be able to learn and upskill to get better at what I'm supposed to be doing in my role, or to be able to develop new skills and grow as an employee within Contoso in the sort of the main area where I work, or to think about tapping into that pool of employees that may be bringing with them other skills to have them grow into other parts of the organization. Access to learning to develop it is a huge thing that results in reduced turnover, right? It improves retention because people feel like they have a future in the organization. They have a way to grow, and access to learning right here in the flow of where they're working is super important. It's super powerful. Again, being able to pivot to a number of different courses. There's that Teams Quick Start class that I just bookmarked right here and easy at my fingertips, available for me. And it's an integrated part of my day, right? Super important. Any questions about that, or any thoughts on how you think about making learning available to your employees? Quiet in the chat, which is fine. If you're just taking it in, that's good. But definitely want to help answer questions as you have them. Moving onward, I see Brianna's kind of let something in there. I'm going to keep going, but I may swing back to you. So does Viva Learning integrate with an LMS? So yes, Brianna, it does. Viva Learning can integrate with a number of different learning management systems. We at Microsoft integrate our learning management system of SuccessFactors. So again, when I am told that I need to take required training, the LMS that's configured and managed through SuccessFactors, and that flows right into here, into my Viva Learning experience. And again, as the learner, I don't care. It's just the place I need to go to take my required training. But we also integrate with other learning management systems like Cornerstone. We're working on integration with Workday, those top level ones. If there are learning experience platforms or content platforms that you don't have available, then there is an API for ones that we don't have first-party connectors. So yes, if you have other platforms and we have connectors for those, you could bring in Udemy and others, much like I've shown here, the ability to get to content from Saba or Go1 or Coursera. These are all external to Viva Learning. The Viva Learning is just that central place for me to come and access all of the learning right from within here. It's a great question. Working through here, good stuff. Okay, so moving on. Again, we talked about some of the different learning resources here. Again, one of the things that we think is super important is being able to get feedback from employees, and that can happen a lot of different ways. Sometimes that's just giving them a place to be able to have conversations and dialogue. Sometimes it's about giving them a place to be able to capture structured feedback. And we have a lot of different ways to be able to do that within Microsoft 365. It could be something as simple as a Microsoft form that's built out as a survey that allows me to say, what role are you in? What's the one word that you feel about working at Contoso? Amazed, if I could type. What's the one thing you would change about Contoso? More vacation, and that's just top of mind for me personally. Sort some things that you want to get people's perspective on particular content. How do you feel about working here? I'm going to go ahead and fix that because that's going to bother me. And just, again, creating a very simple and easy framework to be able to know what is top of mind for your employees, and being able to put those surveys out there. Again, maybe it's a Pulse thing that you make available all the time. It's like, your digital suggestion box or collection box. Or maybe these surveys are things that are put out there every once in a while based on time of year, et cetera. But being able to connect people with those experiences is really powerful. Also, and I didn't touch on this explicitly, though, most organizations, Microsoft inclusive, have frontline worker populations that speak a lot of different languages. So it is possible also to be able to leverage multilingual experiences across these various different experiences. So whether I'm connecting people to portal experiences, or whether I'm connecting them to surveys, or even in the conversation streams, courses in Viva Learning that could be multiple languages, being able to employees engage with the platform in the language that's top of mind for them is super important, right? And so being able to support that is very key here. Now, when I talk with customers about their frontline employee experiences, for a lot of them, the number of frontline employees vastly outscales the number of corporate employees, right? If you think about, again, your big box retailers, you could be tens of thousands of corporate employees and hundreds of thousands of frontline workers. And so one of the challenges that comes from this is, how do we help solve for problems at scale, right? How do we help with things like common questions and answers? How do we help people, connect with the right sets of resources, if you will? Being able to do something like putting a bot or something called, in Microsoft speak, a Power Virtual Agent right here on this dashboard gives you the ability to empower your frontline workers with a place to be able to go ask questions. This particular bot is really centered more around like getting questions to HR, but the bots could be for anything. It could be product information. It could be helping to connect with internal procedure resources. It could be, any number of different kinds of experiences. So if I wanted to say, hey, I need help with time off, let's say arbitrarily, I can go ahead and ask the bot a question, and then the bot's going to look at this and go, sure, I can help with this. What do you need, right? And then you can quickly configure this Power Virtual Agent to help get people answers to quick questions, or to be able to narrow down well, I see you've asked about this. What are the other things that you might want to ask to help them get to that right question? And the correct answer, rather, or resource. So, for example, if my question was on, hey, what do we need to, or what are our national holidays like? Great, I can go ahead and present this information right here in the flow of work, and then you can help provide a feedback loop to help tune the bot, to let people know that, hey, this is being useful, et cetera, and let them provide some kind of a rating, et cetera. However, sometimes that a quick answer isn't necessarily always the thing that you need done. It could very well be that you want to provide another escalation path. So, for example, if I ask the question again, if I say I need some help with time off, maybe in this particular case, I've got a question about extended leave. Right. And now typically with extended leave, there's more questions that need to be answered. So here now I can ask the frontline employee, well, what is the nature of your time off request, right? I could say I am having a baby, right? Whatever it is, right? And I want to know about, for me, in my case, maybe paternity leave. So I can go ahead and give some details. And now that bot can go through and reach out to someone in HR, letting them know. And then instead of answering this over the bot, they can go ahead and schedule a conversation with the person that asked the question. They know the context. They can go ahead and reach out to that employee and schedule time with them to be able to have that conversation and to answer those questions, et cetera. And oh, by the way, that conversation could happen over a platform like Teams, which is not only great for being able to surface these apps and services, but is a hugely powerful communications platform. So really great to think about what this can mean in terms of getting answers to questions in line, but also being able to pull in and engage that right set of resources that might require a little bit more, a care and feeding, or a little bit more of a personal touch from an engagement perspective. And I think that's a 5. So access to these bots inline here, super powerful. Again, simple. From this experience, from an engagement perspective, one thing that I do want to make sure that I call out is, you've seen instances where I've been doing some typing. In many instances, what you might want to choose to do is to lean into letting speech to text happen as well too. So if I wanted to talk to this a bot because I'm in a scenario where I need to be hands-free, you could also speak into that and let the bot kind of reason over the text that's been speech to text captured, and then leverage that accordingly. Okay, so other sets of things that I know are just super top of mind for everyone, right? I talked a little bit about that frontline employees, they don't feel appreciated. They don't feel like they're recognized, if you will. Why not make it really easy for people to be able to send praise and recognize their colleagues, and fully integrating the native praise experience that's part of Teams right here into the flow of work. So if I'm a manager or a store manager, or plant manager walking around and I see somebody doing great work and I want to recognize them, or I want to recognize a peer for the things that they've done, really easy for me to be able to manage this experience right here in line. So if I want to maybe recognize a colleague, and maybe I want to recognize or loop in their manager or their lead out of the box here, very easy to be able to do this. So I can go ahead and recognize them for maybe some problem solving. I can get a key in a little personalized note here. Whoops. Amazing work. Whoops. And maybe do some thematic things here and go ahead and see that I can see what this is going to look like. Very simple little thing, but again, recognition, right? That ability to be able to let people know that they have been seen, that they are valued, and to have that simple and easy mechanism built right into this experience is hugely powerful. I see Kuhn has asked which languages are supported by the bot. And is integrated in support of ChatGPT planned? Okay, so yes, the bots can be supported in a variety of different languages. And the bot that I surfaced here is one that is part of our Dynamics 365 or Power Platform experience, something called a Power Virtual Agent. Those bots can be built in a number of different languages so to help make sure, again, you're getting people access to that right and familiar experience. And whether that's a Power Virtual Agent or whether we're looking at something like an Azure bot, being able to augment those bot experiences with technology like ChatGPT is absolutely something that we're working towards, or that customers, if they're building their own bots using our SaaS, our PaaS and IaaS capabilities in Azure, can infuse those capabilities as well too. So a great call out there, because it'll make the bot that much smarter based on the context of information that you have there. It's a great call out. And if you've got other questions, please let me know if I didn't happen to answer what you needed there. A lot of frontline workers have access, when they think about the things that they're doing, right? It's a lot of manual paper process. I can't tell you the number of customers that I have where their employees have to do something like a safety inspection, a store walk, an inventory process, a safety walk in a kitchen, let's say, to be able to make sure that food handling is done the way it should be. So many of these are paper-based processes, right? I've got a clipboard, I do this thing, I check some stuff off, and yes, I sign it, whatever, but then what typically happens is, yes, I've done it, and I put it into a folder, and that information goes to sit there, and nothing typically ever happens with it unless it's a reactive thing. And so if you want the process to change, you've got to go through and make sure that all of those paper versions of that process need to get updated and changed, and they all need to replace. And again, at scale, that's a challenge, right? Hundreds of stores, hundreds of clinics, hundreds of hospital rooms, et cetera. We want a better way to be able to do this. So again, why not bring in a digital experience here? And so the ability to lean into, and again, this is a template that exists for the Power Platform called an inspections app that is built off of Power Apps, which give me this visual interface to be able to present the experience. And then also Power Automate, which is a digital process automation experience behind the scenes that can help take this data capture exercise and fully automate some other things that are to happen so that people can know when this particular inspection is finished. It can create tasks as they need to based on what get captured here that can then accrue to things that are important to be done and captured later on, et cetera. And then there's intelligence behind the scenes on these processes that can let you see how many have happened, how frequently, or what's the duration of them typically, that sort of a thing. So the inspections app template, again, built off of the Power Platform, gives me this nice personalized experience. I can see that, it's only Tuesday. I haven't conducted a number of walks available to me. I have some tasks that have been assigned and a couple of which are active, and I can go through these very quickly. This app can be customized to speak your language for your vertical, right? So if I think about some of the different customers here, if we have someone in the manufacturing vertical or retail like I am, or in healthcare or in financial services, these digitized processes in this inspections app can be pretty easily changed to, again, speak in your language. Maybe for you, it's not an inspection, it's a walk, or it's a, whatever, a review. You can talk about that. You can also modify and craft these forms and what they look like so they are representative of your particular units of organization and the areas in which you want to be able to conduct this process, right? In a restaurant, let's say, I might want to have things that look at front of the house or back of the house or whatever. And the back of the house, I'm looking at kitchen versus, food storage versus prep area versus whatever. And if I'm in a say, for example, a plant scenario in manufacturing, I might want to expect different lines or different parts of inventory, et cetera. And this can all be, crafted the way they want. And I might have multiple forms or aspects, and I can put in little filters that allow me to kind of refine by the different experiences that I want to be able to look at. Maybe in this particular case, I'm working at in a retail location that has, an option for people to buy food, and they've got a frozen food section. And I want to go ahead and walk through that and make sure that everything is sort of what it needs to be. I'm going to go ahead and do this. It's still technically morning here where I am in the US. And so I get this nice little overview here of what I'm expected to do, right? Instead of a paper process, which is typically sort of a bland chart, if you will, here I can infuse rich graphics and images that let me know what I should expect to see, the kinds of things I need to do, and then I can see the checklist of steps that I need to walk through. So I kept this one short so that you could see what this would look like from a perspective without having me to go through a bunch of different things. But again, I can set expectation for what these things are. And if I'd say, hey, does everything look clean and hygienic? Yep, that looks good. I click this and I get a nice little, a green thing that lets me know that things are doing okay. But if I see something where there's an area, hey, this area should be clutter-free and accessible. Well, if I run into a problem, again, with the paper process, I click the box and let people know that there's a problem. But because this is digital now, I can leverage the value of the device that I have on me. This device has a camera. It has GPS. It has the ability to capture other data. So if I wanted to grab a photo, let's say, and say, for example, if I had a photo already captured, I can take that photo in Teams. I can even go ahead and mark this up and say, hey, you know what? This is the problem. This thing right here is the issue, right? And I can now really more deeply describe what that issue is and attach that photo to this part of the digital process. I could also go through and create a task if I wanted to. So if I wanted to assign something that needed to be done, I could leverage the tasking experience here or put in a little note that needs to be addressed. And when I'm done, I can go through and review the walk and see how things are going. Actually, I am going to go ahead and create this task here. We're going to go ahead and assign this to Sam and make sure that he can go ahead and get at this. I could also give a description of whatever this is, and I can add a task. Sam will now get a notification that he has a thing that he needs to do, right? We've now really made this a process that is digital, that can now carry forward action. And when I go ahead and review where we're at from a status perspective, I see everything looks good and there's an issue noted. I can go ahead and submit this walk. And now the Power App is invoking a business process behind the scenes to make sure that that task gets created, to notify the managers and the rest of the team, however I configure it, that this walk has been done. And then I can go back to my home view here and see, again, an update here to my statistics. So really digitizing this process end-to-end and making it very easy for me to be able to get through the things that are important for my day. Again, moving away from that digital process. As I continue to work through here, and I'm just going to keep moving through since we, but if you do have questions, again, land them into the chat. So many organizations have existing systems, right? And when we talk about Teams, Teams is as much a platform as it is an experience to be able to get access to content and services. And so being able to integrate other line of business applications or systems that you have is really important. So for example, if you have some kind of an inventory system, I might want to make it very easy for me at a glance to click on that inventory adaptive card and have it make a connection to your inventory system to pull back data. And maybe this is tailored to me based on the role, not only the location that I work at, but my role within the particular store. So I'm seeing inventory for an area that I care about. And at a glance, giving me access to some information or giving me the ability to drill into the platform. This connections experience also brings forward a number of third-party connectors as well too. So platforms like ServiceNow and others have created adaptive cards that allow me to tie into their platforms as well. So in a click, I can go ahead and drill into this and see that, hey, I've got a number of open tickets here, and I can, from within this experience, very easily get to a set of tasks, a set of issues, and again, leverage that integration. And oh, by the way, again, we use this a lot within Microsoft. You'll notice as I'm going through this, it's single sign-on, right? So the last thing we want to do for a frontline worker at scale is introduce friction and logging in and all of that. We can fully support the ability to single sign-on into these experiences. So when I look at all of these apps and services, making it very easy for me to get into these experiences through single sign-on, super important. We at Microsoft, from a corporate side of things, and I also know a number of frontline organizations that have frontline workers, want to say, well, what's in it for me in terms of my frontline workers? How do I help them get access to this? Getting access to payroll information right here from within this dashboard. Again, we do this at Microsoft. I have access to my current payslip. It's a single click. It pulls up my data, my information. I can see those things. If I want to go back to prior payslip data, I can. But it's just another way of thinking about connecting people with the things that are important to them. And for every employee, certainly, but very much so for frontline employees, pay is super important, and making that available to them right here at a glance, very easy. Now, Teams as a location is great for connecting people based on a specific focus. So when I think about frontline, Teams is a way to connect me with the people that work in my location, right? So in my clinic, at my plant, in my store, in my case, if you will. But oftentimes we want a way for people to be able to sort of periscope up and reach more broadly across the organization. And Teams generally is not the right tool for that. For us at Microsoft, the tool formerly known as Yammer, now called Viva Engage, provides access to a communities experience, again, right here within this dashboard, that can connect employees more broadly, not only to employees across the organization that may have a similar role or a similar function within the organization. I can have communities of purpose, things that are work-related, things that are not work-related, that are work-adjacent to help people come together and be more connected to the organization. I also know a lot of organizations are commenting on that. If you remember my stat slide at the very beginning of that challenge of feeling like they're being communicated with and connected from leadership. So being able to connect people with communities that help them stay connected to and engage with the leaders within the organization or leaders. You can see I've got a couple of those communities here. Here I've got a community fully geared towards all of the store associates in my organization. So across all the locations, we have a way to be able to come in and see, what are the questions that are top of mind for organizations. In this case, a few months ago, Josh asked the question about, hey, have people seen issues with Samsung devices in the store we sell? And then we have employees that are commenting on this and reacting, if you will. I see that as we've had this conversation, a couple of folks have tagged me in this as well too, wanting to know if I've seen this, or if I've shed some light on some things here. So I can go ahead and fully interact with this from here. I can go ahead and say, yes, I've seen this. I can go ahead and upvote answers, if that makes sense, if it's a question. And I can go ahead and comment on this and let people know what's top of mind. Yes, I have been reviewing reports of additional shrink, right? Which is what we refer to that in retail. And I can go ahead and tag someone or copy someone or put in a resource link or capture a photo right from here, if you will, and engage in this conversation, again, right from this mobile device. Now here I'm communicating with people that are across the organization, right? And we're sharing best practices and answering questions and really coming together and connecting in a more meaningful way. And I can look at, new questions, or if I want to look at all conversations and see what's top of mind for my particular community, where we've got, store associates being asked to show off their displays, or people sharing links to resources, etc. Just a great way to be able to connect and engage with people. Most instances, people are siloed to their specific location. So providing them a way to be able to engage with people in the same role across the organization, super powerful. Again, thinking about connecting with the organization, giving people a place to be able to come through and see what's top of mind for leaders within the organization, giving employees a place to have a voice, to share concerns, to see questions that they have about things. Here I can see our CEO, Patty, is talking about an upcoming town hall. This is something that a frontline worker would typically never get access to, right? Community's experience in Viva Engage can provide that connection from leadership all the way to the front line to ensure that the message has been heard from leadership, but also that, that the leadership is hearing what's top of mind for them. So I just want to let somebody know your camera just got turned on, just so that you're aware as we're running through this. And so, again, providing that sort of connective tissue, if you will, for people to be able to see what is top of mind, to be able to ask questions and engage more broadly. Really, really powerful. You can see there's a question here about upcoming events. I can go through and see that, hey, we have a town hall coming up here. The Viva Engage experience gives communicators, leaders, a place to be able to create that sort of a voice and video town hall experience. And those events have a life cycle, right? So instead of feeling like, oh, I've got to be there for the event, I can come into this town hall event and say, hey, you know what? I've got a question. It's coming up here at the end of the month in about 10 days. I'd like for people to be able to help answer my questions. So I can ask our leaders a question, something like, how are we preparing for, whatever those things are, right? In this case, we'll talk about, summer sales, right? Whatever those things are that are top of mind for the organization. Again, it could be anything, right? But now the power here is that I have a voice, right? I know, and leaders can see these questions in advance of the town hall, add that into the agenda or take that in as part of that overall experience. And when it comes time for the event, if it makes sense, I can actually see that video broadcast right here within the community, right? Again, super powerful, making it sure that I can see those experiences right from within here. Or more likely, and especially is the case for me at Microsoft, if I go into the events page here, I might not be able to attend the event live, but what I might want to do is just to be able to see a prior town hall. So I can come into this town hall experience and I can see the recording, right? And now I'm more deeply connected to the organization. I know what's top of mind for leaders. I know what's important. I can see what questions were asked and answered. If I wanted to, I could see what was talked about here. I can actually search through the transcript if I'm looking for particular terms, maybe, for example, for an accessibility purposes, or if I'm working in some place that's a little bit noisy, like in a plant, let's say, I can turn on closed captioning so I can see the broadcast and see the closed captioning here. Just a great way for me to be able to stay connected with the organization and the leaders. And that leader could be the CEO. It could be my regional leader for my series of plants or stores or clinics, etc. Just really powerful for me to be able to connect with in this experience. We've also recently brought through this idea of something called stories and storylines, which give organizations the ability to be able to allow people to be able to post in the context of themselves. So that people can share information, and I can actually even find and follow leaders in their context and talk about what's important to them, the things that they've shared on their story, their storylines, et cetera, too. So it's a great way for me to stay connected with the broader organization, even follow and connect with leaders in a newer capability called Leadership Corner. And so I can see all of the different leaders in the organization. Leaders can be defined for an organization, and they can also have their audience mapped to them so that people will automatically follow specific leaders and stay in touch with the news that's top of mind for them. Conversely, leaders can also see a level of engagement and see what is top of mind for their audience and look at things like questions that they're asking, sentiment analysis across that platform, if you will, and really much more deeply understand what's happening in an organization and have visibility into this overall experience. So really great tools to be able to stay connected with the broader organization. Again, thinking about other things that you might want to do, connecting people with corporate resources, right? Like a corporate giving campaign website, let's say, something that's very top of mind for us in the October timeframe at Microsoft. Make it easy for people to get out those corporate portal resources. Again, maybe they're time-based, maybe it's something that you want to make sure people have access to all the time. I had that onboarding checklist. Maybe you want a full onboarding site available to their employees so they can learn about the corporate culture, connect with other new hires, find an onboarding buddy, join ERGs, etc. Just really powerful to be able to connect people into these experiences. Again, other things that you might want to be able to do, I might need to have access to or create approvals. Again, a very common thing that frontline workers need is, hey, I'm doing a job and I need to be able to, get a request approved for certain kinds of things. I can see approvals in the process here, ones that I've received or approvals that I've sent that I'm waiting on from an approval perspective. I can also create and initiate approvals right from here as well, too. And the great part about approvals is, one, they're natively built into the Teams experience. And so you can leverage a sort of a basic request and leverage an out-of-the-box one, or you can create templates for these and publish them out to the entire organization or specific teams or functions. So, for example, if I have a store maintenance request where I need to have an approval, I can then structure this to capture some information. So I could say safety review or whatever it is. Again, I'm just going to quickly get something in here. Thank you for this. I've got some approvers that have already been added to this, so I don't have to worry about this. I only want a response from one of them. I can go ahead and key in a name with an item, let's say. I could say this is, whoops. I can say this is the register. I can say that the location is this is checkout, whatever it is. I can pick a date where we've got an issue that the issue surfaced, whatever. It happened last week. And I can detail what the problem is and that it needs to be fixed. And I can go ahead in a couple of clicks. Now I've asked for a approval process, or I kicked off a request to have a maintenance ticket generated, etc. And this will get sent out automatically to all of those folks. I didn't need to necessarily know who were the people that handled this, right? That I don't have to have that tribal knowledge. The request form has been configured in such a way that it makes it very easy for me to get this out and available to my employees, et cetera, and kick off that process flow. You can see there are lots of other kinds of things that I could do or provide here. If you think about this dashboard, right, as I said early on, right, it's rife with capabilities. Like, I've come to one screen and I have been provided access to an amazing number of experiences, and I've not really had to leave the dashboard, right? I can manage my time. I have access to news. I know what tasks are important for me. I can get to learning. I can onboard more quickly. I can get answers to questions, provide feedback. I have access to digitized processes, etc. There's just a tremendous number of things that you can bring into this experience, or bring forward the ones that are important to you and tailor them for your particular role. But this dashboard here, really important to be able to connect me with things that I care about. Just to complete the overview of the dashboard here, this feed connects me to news and resources and information for me that are top of mind, so I can see the things that I care about. It's the news that I care about more deeply that's being published. It's conversations in the communities that I'm a member of that, oh, by the way, I can fully see and interact with. It's not a static thing. I can go and have access to information. And again, they're very common to ask here about AI and what it means for work. Our folks have said, hey, this article from last week, a week ago today, you might want to learn more about how AI is going to help fix work or change work. And AI's got a lot of really interesting applications and use cases across the breadth of users within an organization. So this feed, a very personalized experience that connects me to that news and community conversation that's important to me. In fact, this is where I lean into to stay current at Microsoft, because it's individualized. It's the things that I care about in my particular role. And then the resources tab here connects me to my corporate intranet's global navigation, right? So all of those corporate resources that help me understand about our organization, our brand, whatever those things are, all of that's available at a glance. And oh, by the way, also can be audience targeted, so I see the right resources for my role. Some things might be applicable to corporate information workers. Some things might be applicable to frontline employees, and I can, again, make that a very tailored experience. So much amazing stuff comes just from the Viva Connections experience here, right, within Teams. I'm going to pause to see if there's other questions and take a sip of water before I showcase one or two more things, and then take some dedicated Q&A. Okay, continuing to push forward here. Again, if you look at the bottom part of my mobile device here, you'll see a number of different experiences, right? This is, if you think about your Teams client on your desktop, this is the left rail of Teams. This is your app bar that shows you all of your different applications. It's just in a mobile device, it's at the bottom, right? Again, iOS, Android, it doesn't matter. With this experience now fully supported on both phone as well as tablet form factor, which is great because in a lot of industries, frontline employees also leverage tablets and can see that as well too. And you can see I could also pull forward access to Viva Learning as an app if I didn't want to put it there as an adaptive card, or to the Viva Engage experience to be able to deeply connect with my communities and to connect with leadership. I have all this available right from within here. I can also get into my Teams experience. So for example, if my unit of location or organization, like store, or you can see I have some other examples here, restaurants and grocery stores and plants, so many organizations that I work with are leveraging the framework of Teams and the channels experience to provide access to the things that are important to that particular function. So these channels can be your, how you organize yourself in your store, and you can have channels that support different kinds of experiences, right? I may want to have a channel for announcements to be able to surface up high value, important things for my employees. I may want to have a channel here for store meetings where I focus on that daily stand-up, and I can actually take and record that team meeting. And if I miss that, I can go back and get those announcements or updates and quickly watch the recording right from within there. We could do things like handle shift handoffs directly within this experience, again, using a native Teams functionality called updates to make those experiences readily available within here. Managers, as you can see, can have a private place to be able to have conversations and access resources. And so because I'm an assistant manager, I have access to a set of resources where we can see what's happening. You can see here's that food walk that just got created. I got a notification. So then the manager, as a manager, I know I did the walk in the demo, but as a manager, I know there's something I need to go look at. I need to look at the tasks. I need to see what's happening here. That's that workflow closing the loop with me. And as a manager, I have a place where I might be able to securely store files for performance reviews, et cetera. Or I could bring forward a number of other experiences, a digital whiteboard, a list to be able to look at recruitment, et cetera, to be able to see lots of other experiences that are specifically tailored for managers and in that way. Now, I gave a nod to this a little bit earlier when I talked about that scenario of leveraging that bot to be able to have someone in HR reach out to me. So many organizations are now leaning into the fact that Teams is an amazing communications platform and communications hub, both for out-of-the-box experiences, and there's also a tremendous extensibility model with this to be able to bring or bridge in communication services for your frontline workers. And there's a number of different ways that we can do this. One that we did talk about in the run-up here was this idea of walkie-talkie. And so, from within a mobile device, Teams has a walkie-talkie experience natively built into it. And walkie-talkie in Teams isn't built off of radio. It's backboned over Teams itself. And so walkie-talkie is not limited by distance in the same way. So, for example, if I had someone else within my store or my location, let's say, that was on Teams, like let's say, for example, this other device, here I have my colleague Donna here. So I've got two phones now here. If all I need to do is for all the people that are in this particular channel, like the inventory channel, On the regular Android device, all I have to do is just press and hold on the device, and you can see I'm now speaking to anybody that's attached to this channel. And that's anybody anywhere in the world that is in a Teams client on mobile, or even a Teams phone client. So a Teams desk phone can support walkie-talkie as well too. We can now communicate and reach, and it lights up really interesting scenarios that you might not necessarily normally think about. So again, in retail, maybe, for example, I've got a question about that a customer has, and I need an expert, but I don't have any experts in my physical location. But I could use Teams to be able to connect to an expert and then bring them in and bridge them in their expertise from another part of the country or another part of the world. Or if I have a store support scenario where, again, maybe I'm in retail, I'm working and I'm seeing some problems with the shipment of my flooring, let's say, in a home improvement scenario, I can go ahead and reach out to the folks in the store support center on a channel over walkie-talkie to push to talk and get them and get assistance real time, synchronous assistance or synchronous awareness over real time. I talked about specialized integrations here. This particular phone is a Zebra device. And so Zebra and Samsung and Honeywell are some of the partners that have full integrations in. This Zebra device, which a lot of frontline workers have, has a dedicated button on the side, so I can invoke push to talk on this phone without having to unlock the device or open it up. If I'm signed into the Teams and I'm attached to the last channel, which is typically the case, I auto-attach to the channel that I was last in, then I don't even have to do this. And whether it's push to talk on the radio of the device or our integrations that we have with folks like Blue Yonder and others that have lapel-based or ear-set integrations, I can invoke walkie-talkie without even having to take the device out of my pocket. So it really is interesting the kinds of things that it would change from a communications perspective right into this. Teams also, by the way, we have a lot of organizations thinking about this as well too. Teams can be a full telephony infrastructure as well. So I can, equip my frontline employees, either store managers and assistant store managers or all employees, with a calling number that is available through the Teams mobile device endpoint. So wherever they sign in, their mobile number, their Teams number follows them. And I can go ahead and create calls out to any number or receive calls within this experience. There's also something called communications channels that allow me to bring calling and call queue capabilities into a channel in a team. So if you think about wanting to be able to bring in or bridge experiences from a calling perspective and tie those into the team, let's say, for in retail curbside pickup, in plants for maintenance or safety, et cetera, I can bring all of those experiences and leverage the rich communications capabilities that are native to Teams. Or if I have specific scenarios I'm thinking about, I can use something called Azure Communication Services to really build custom communications integrations, whether that's SMS, whether that's voice and calling, and integrate those apps into my services. It could also, and there's again a nod to sort of the session for next week, content on virtual visits, et cetera. Lots of different experiences to be brought forward along the way as well too. So you can see, again, there's a number of other kinds of things that I can pull forward here. Full access to shifts, apps. I can tailor this and make this super focused on the things that I care about, or I can pull forward a number of other experiences and integrations and give my frontline employees or my corporate employees access to those apps and services that they care about. So whether we're talking about, connecting people with relevant apps and services in an easy to view experience like the dashboard, whether it's augmenting every employees, but certainly frontline employees with ready access to learning and learning experiences, connecting more broadly with the organization and connecting into communities of purpose and role and function or even interest, and connecting more deeply with leadership through Viva Engage, or whether leveraging one of the number of different communication experiences in Teams like walkie-talkie. It just provides a huge set of capabilities that are available to really address a lot of those pain points that we talked about early on that every frontline employee gets, sees within with the organizations that we talk to. So I am at time, and what I'd like to do is just to stop sharing here and then kick back.